was super cool. Well, we're live. We're live. I'm excited. Everybody, welcome to Travel Talk Tuesday. I'm Frances Manzito with Directions Tours, and I have a special guest today. My dear friend Stacy Barry has joined me with Sharin the South Tours. Stacy, tell us something about yourself while I'm trying to figure out how to get comments up so I can see them.
Great. Let's think of something we can say on live streaming that would be interesting. We have been friends for a long time, and so there are lots of interesting stories and things between us. But for this, we will just say, here's something interesting, actually. Frances sent me a picture the other day of a shirt that had my daughter's name on it that she wore for Easter. My daughter is now 13. And Frances actually made that for my mom to give to me before we even knew each other. So she knew my Riley before she knew me and had made her a shirt, a cute shirt. And I still have all the pictures and we still own it. So we were destined to be friends before we were travel friends.
That is a fact. That is a fact. You guys, when you come in, if you will, say hi to us so we know who we're talking to. We've got some great stuff we want to share with you today, kind of a sneak peek into the new catalog. If you don't know me, again, I'm Frances Manzito. I'm the Director of Product Development for Directions Tours. And we have a new catalog coming out in April with lots and lots and lots of great stuff in it. We're really excited to share it. And what we are trying to do is introduce some of it to you a little bit at a time. What I want you to know is that if we talk about it and give you details about a trip while we're live on Travel Talk Tuesday, you can't necessarily go to the website and see it yet, but you can call the office. And reservations are open, and they can talk you through and tell you what's on it, and you can be the first to get aboard that new trip. Hey, Amy. We're glad you're with us today. So Stacy is from Tennessee. For those of you who don't know, and none of you know because I'm new, I moved to Directions Tours. I came to work for Directions Tours after working in the Middle Tennessee area for about 25 years, really a little bit longer than that. And so I know the area well. Stacy is our partner in that area. So she is an expert in all things Nashville. If you want to go to Clarksville, Tennessee, I'm your expert. And we're going to talk about Clarksville a little bit. Some of you have probably not heard of that place. But when it comes to Nashville and Memphis, Stacy is the person who's going to help us with those things. So we have 3 trips coming up. And I got this new technology. I got to show you this because it's super cool. If I can figure out how to do it again. We have 3 trips coming up this year, between now and the end of the year, that are going to Tennessee. They are the Grand Ole Opry Birthday, which we're calling 99 Reasons to Visit Nashville, because how old is the Grand Ole Opry going to be, Stacy?
99. So this year's exciting, but we're already working on next year for you too. So we've got a lot of fun stuff coming up.
So we've got the Opry Birthday. We have a trip that I'm really excited about because it's super cool. It's called Million Dollar Melodies. That is a 6-night trip, 7 days, 6 nights. We're spending 2 nights in Nashville, 2 nights in Memphis, and 2 nights in Branson. The premise of the trip is all centered around the story of the Grand Ole Opry, of the Million Dollar Quartet, and what happened in Sun Studios that fateful night when Johnny Cash, Elvis Presley, Carl Perkins, and Jerry Lee Lewis were at Sun Studios. So we're going to start the trip off. I'm going to go into this one because I'm excited about this. We're going to start the trip off in Nashville. And Stacy, do you recall off the top of your head what we're doing in Nashville? I can tell you if you don't remember.
Well, I have all 3 of your trips in my brain. So on this one, tell me what we're starting with.
We're starting with Nashville. We're doing the Grand Ole Opry.
Right, for the birthday.
We're doing the Johnny Cash Museum and Patsy Cline Museum.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a songwriter, I think, at Paula Dean's.
Yes, and that's a songwriter that works exclusively for us. You'll recognize his songs when you get there, and it's a private show just for your group. So it's not like you're going to be in a big, it's very intimate. They tell you stories behind the songs. They play them for you, and it's just set up for you guys. So that's pretty special.
And we're going to Country Music Hall of Fame with Historic Studio B, which if you haven't been to Studio B, I'm an Elvis fan. Mm-hmm. If you're an Elvis fan and you haven't been to Historic Studio B, well, just shame on you.
It is a great place, and it's not somewhere that artists are coming to record now. So it really gives you the experience and space to walk through and feel like you were there. The guides that go through Studio B are just phenomenal. They do such a great job of sharing the stories and immersing you in that experience. So that's one of the favorite Nashville attractions. And you can't just book a ticket to go there on your own. You actually have to get Country Music Hall of Fame tickets to go there, and it's the times fill up really fast. So securing that one is a great tour.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Now, I do want to pop in and say that Janice is joining us from Festus. Janice, we're glad you're here, and our friend Buddy Geisler is watching.
Hey, Buddy.
So, hey, Buddy. Also on that tour, we're spending 2 nights in Nashville, and then we go from Nashville to Memphis. On the way, we're stopping at Johnny Cash's farm, Johnny Cash's Hideaway Farm, which is kind of an off the beaten path attraction. Johnny Cash owned this farm for 30 years. He called it the center of his universe. It's really, we're going to the museum, and the museum is a cool museum, but it's a museum. You're going to his house where you can sit in his easy chair. You can walk in what was his bedroom. It's just a different feeling. Don't you agree, Stacy?
Yeah, it's kind of, I always think of it, that's kind of like man cave before there was such thing as a man cave, because it was his property where he wanted to be away from all of the fame and glitz and glamour, where he lived and where he was comfortable. And so it's just a whole different feel, you know?
Yeah, one of my favorite stories that you get when you're there is that there was a phone there, but June was the only one who had the phone number. And if you wanted to reach Johnny, you had to call June, and June would decide if what you wanted was important enough to call Johnny, but she was going to call him. She wasn't giving you the number to call him.
Yeah.
It's a pretty special place. When we're there, 2 things happen. One is we tour the house, and then we go to what they call the Storytellers Museum. And that's a neat building that directly is connected to Sun Studios and that Sun Studio story. And while we're there, you get a performance by Johnny Cash's nephew. And I'll tell you, growing up, my parents listened to Johnny Cash. I liked his music. I knew his songs. I would never say I was a Johnny Cash fan. I am 100% an Uncle Johnny fan.
I felt the same way when I went on that tour. And when you had described it to us that we're going to hear stories of Uncle Johnny, I didn't get it until you go and you get it. And that's knowing him as a person from a family's point of view. That's not knowing him as an artist. And again, you just don't get that. You can't just book that on your own. So if it wasn't for you having a connection and you know, the collaborations that you have, you don't get to experience stuff like that.
That's right. In this trip in particular, there's a lot of those little special touches. Mm-hmm. When we leave Johnny's farm, we're going to go, I don't know, an hour and a half down the road to Jackson, Tennessee. And in Jackson, we're just going to stop for a lunch stop, kind of a late lunch, but a lunch stop. And while we're at lunch, remember, our people that were part of the Million Dollar Quartet were Johnny Cash, which we've had our good Johnny Cash experience, Elvis Presley, which we're going to really get that in Memphis, and Carl Perkins. Carl Perkins is from Jackson, Tennessee, and his son lives there. And we have a connection with his son that while we're at lunch, we're going to have an opportunity to meet his son and talk with him. And kind of, he's not going to sing for us necessarily, but we'll kind of have that same experience that we'll have at the Storytellers, which is in, just so you know, Bon Aqua, Tennessee. You all might want to say Bon Aqua, but it's Bon Aqua. Kind of the same experience, but in Jackson with Carl Perkins' son, which I think that's going to be, if you want something that you can't just get on your own, I can't even get to him. I have to go through somebody to get to him. So I think that's a really neat thing. And then we go on to Memphis. And tell us about Memphis, Stacy.
Yeah, Memphis is going to be great. It's so funny. It's one of my favorite places to go. And I live in Nashville. I'm from Nashville. I've been in Nashville. I love things about it here, but going to Memphis kind of puts me where Nashville used to be. You can cross the street and there's not 100 cars. I mean, you can easily just walk across the street downtown. It's just so different than, what it is here now. But you're going to go, of course, to Graceland, and you're going to see Elvis's home and the museums, his planes that you can walk in. It's a really, it's the Disneyland for Memphis fans. But you do get a feel in his home. There's an audio tour you can choose to take, or you can just read the signs. I would honestly do the audio tour. It's very well done. But you really just feel like, everything's like it was when he lived there. The other really cool thing, of course, Sun Studio. And the funny part about that is when they had that session, it's not recorded. They couldn't release it because Elvis was under contract. So it literally was just a jam session where they all happened to be there at the same time, which makes it kind of even neater that it wasn't planned through agents or promoted or organized and not recorded and released. So anyway, the other really cool thing that we have worked on is I happen to be connected with Lee Lewis, who is Jerry Lee Lewis's son. And he said he would be happy to come to a dinner or lunch while you guys are in Memphis and chat with you about his dad. He used to do tours of their home, and he did a phenomenal job there. He really, really loved his dad and loved his career. So also not going to sing, but he will come and talk about his dad. And so what a really cool experience. He's not ever done that for any groups before. And that's going to be a really exclusive thing that you guys get to have in this package as well.
Isn't this cool, you guys? So when we finish Memphis, we're going to go to Branson. It's kind of a great circle to get us back to St. Louis anyway. By the time we get to Branson, you will have met Johnny Cash's nephew, Carl Perkins' son, Jerry Lee Lewis's son. So the only 4 left, of course, is Elvis. We haven't met anybody that's related to Elvis, and unfortunately, we're not going to. However, we're going to see what this Elvis fan thinks is the best Elvis Presley tribute artist around. We're going to see 4. We're going to see. I almost said 3. We're going to see 4 shows. We're going to see 4 shows while we're in Branson. The first night, we're going to see. Oh goodness, it just left me. Presley's Country Jubilee. I think that's what it's called. So we'll do that the first night.
Is he the one that was at ABA?
Dean Z?
I don't know, but I have a picture and he scarfed me.
Yes, girl. That's the one that he is. I'll post some pictures of him so everybody can understand exactly what kind of Elvis tribute artist we're going to see. But we're going to see that Presley's Country Jubilee the first night. The second day, we're going to do a little sightseeing in the morning, and then we're going to an afternoon show with Dean Z. And again, I'll tell you, as somebody who was an Elvis fan since I was 5 years old, he's absolutely the best. And then we will finish up the evening seeing Million Dollar Quartet. What better way to end a trip that's all based on the Million Dollar Quartet? That's at the Shepherd of the Hills Theater. We've got fantastic seats. It's going to be a great show. Then we get up the next morning and we see one more show. And I'm going to apologize because I don't remember which one it is. There's so many. And then we head back to St. Louis. So if you love music, it doesn't get much better than this trip. I love the theme. I love the just those extra touches with Mark Allen Cash and with Stan Perkins and with Lee Lewis. And I think that's going to make it a really special experience. Mm-hmm. And then last but not least, we've got a trip that actually I created at my old job when I was with Clarksville, Tennessee. It's called Family Ties and Country Vibes. It's 3 nights in Clarksville. Clarksville's 45 miles northwest of Nashville, and then 1 night in Nashville. The whole premise behind this package is that we know our travelers love that classic country music. But when you go to Nashville, I mean, where can you go to hear the classic country music?
I mean, Beyonce put out a country song. So if that's what country is now, that's where we're at. So we started about 3 years ago doing this event where
I've made contacts with several of the descendants, like Mark Allen Cash. So we will have our first night in Clarksville. We have a special show by a little group from Nashville that is called the Honky Tonk Daycare Band. Now, it's children. I mean, and who doesn't love to see children perform, right? And it is children of some country music stars. Now, they're not big stars, not the biggest. We have Cash Mellons, whose father is Ken Mellons. Ken had some hits in the 90s. You may remember. I'm just an old jukebox junkie was one of his hits, and my favorite was called Rub-a-Dubbin' in My Tub. If that's not country music, I don't know what is. And then there is a young man whose father is Corey Frizzell, who is related to Lefty Frizzell. And we may even be able to work in so Stacy's daughter performs with them. So that's going to be
I'm a legend.
Stacy's not really a legend, at least in my mind.
That's right.
Excited
she sings the older country music. That's why she truly is a singer here in Nashville. She's 13 and she sings the older country. So unfortunately, it has nothing to do with my voice or fame, which is lacking.
But we're putting. I think there's nothing more heartwarming than seeing kids. First of all, kids doing something for the good. They're singing and they're performing. But to have them doing that classic music and keeping that music alive, I think is fantastic.
And bringing it to that generation.
That's exactly right. Mm-hmm. So then the next day we'll be in Clarksville. We have a breakfast show with what I will say, I believe is the best bluegrass band around. They're called Passenger Creek. We have the great grandson of Uncle Dave Macon. For those of you who don't remember Uncle Dave, he was one of the original Grand Ole Opry members. Bluegrass singer, wrote funny songs like Give Me Back My $5, which is a whole song about how an old boy got married and paid the preacher $5 to get married and then decided it wasn't working out and he wanted his $5 back. And then we have a 3-time state fiddle champion who wears his best overalls and comes all the way in from Bumpus Mills to perform.
He's really good.
It's a different experience than what you experience in Nashville. And as you can tell, we've got 2 other trips to Nashville. Nashville is phenomenal. And I've said this for years. When you go to Nashville, you go and it's a great experience and you're part of an audience. Mm-hmm. At these things that we're going to do in Clarksville, your company.
Yeah.
It's just a different experience. They're interacting with you regularly and talking with you, and it's just a different experience. Mm-hmm. So that's a breakfast show. That afternoon, we'll go to Johnny Cash's farm, the same one we're going to on the Million Dollar Melodies, and we'll have a show with Mark Allen Cash. The next day, we have, that is not true. I just messed that up. That first night, we have George Jones and Tammy Wynette's daughter performing. Her name is Georgette. And Dion Pride, who is Charlie Pride's son.
Super passionate performer. And very gracious. Yeah, he loves the audience. He loves the people. He loves to conversate. Yeah, he's
it's, again, to hear him talk about his dad and how, if you ever had the opportunity to meet Charlie Pride, which I did, he was a kind and generous soul. And you can really see that alive in his son.
Frances met Charlie Pride in a hotel.
Well, I did. I was working the front desk. I was working the front desk at Set Hotel. I was 19 years old, but I knew his music because I grew up listening to it. And he stood at the front desk and sang "Kiss an Angel Good Morning" to me. So a memory I'll never forget. Just a wonderful
experience. My story of Frances met Charlie in a hotel was that's good. Just leave it.
That's a story for another time. And then Georgette Jones performed for us last year, and she is equally wonderful. She tells a great story, many great stories about her parents, and she sings all of their songs and just has a beautiful voice, really beautiful voice. The next day we see Mark Allen Cash, and then that night we have a private show at Loretta Lynn's ranch, and the show is a performance by Taylor Lynn and Trey Twitty, who are Loretta's granddaughter and Conway Twitty's grandson. And they're fantastic. They put on a great show. We'll have that as a dinner show. head back to Clarksville for the night, get up the next morning, and we'll go into Nashville. And I think we're doing the Country Music Hall of Fame.
And probably the Opry.
And the Opry that night, maybe one of these trips we're doing a backstage tour at the Opry. I think that might be Million Dollar Melodies.
Really good. That's a really good tour. I lived here a long time before I ever took that tour. But you actually get to go see Studio A, where Hee Haw was filmed, and you get to go through and see every one of the dressing rooms that are back there, the mailboxes. I didn't even realize this until I was older, obviously, but every country music member of the Grand Ole Opry has a mailbox there. So you can actually send your favorite stars mail to the Grand Ole Opry house. And when they come, they check their mailbox and have mail there. Dolly Parton stays full, they said, but that's just something that's really cool to have there. So when you go on tour, if you want to take a letter with you, I guess they could put it there while you're there.
And sometimes, depending on the timing of your tour and the day of the week, if you're doing a tour on a day where there's an Opry, there's every possibility you'll run into somebody backstage.
Good. Depends on your timing. Yep.
Nashville is one of those towns that you still can run into somebody at the grocery store. I followed Garth Brooks around to Kroger and Donaldson one time. This was back in the 90s till he stopped and he said, "If I talk to you, will you stop following me?"
And then
before you had a cell phone that you could take a selfie, but that's kind of what Nashville is like. It's not uncommon.
Garth at the grocery, Charlie at the hotel.
Yep.
This is what
Chris Christopherson stayed at that hotel too.
Nice.
There's a great Chris Christopherson story in relation to Johnny Cash, but we'll let that, when you come on the tour, you get to hear
People
that
on
story.
the tour. That's right.
What else? Do you have anything else you want to add? We're just about out of time.
No, just, it's always so good working with tour operators like Francis. I mean, yes, we're friends, but even outside of that, people who work with locals to book trips, they're just an experience. It's not like something you can get somewhere else. When you partner together with people who live there, you get to have all these cool things that Francis mentioned, in Memphis or Nashville or in Branson that she's arranged for this, the best Elvis with the best seats. I mean, that's the kind of things that you get when you book with Directions. That's the kind of thing if you come to Nashville on your own, but it's just a very smart move. The tour guides are fantastic, in the cities where Francis is taking people. So you're going to get a really good overview of the city everywhere that you go and some great stories. And, we've always said in travel, you can tell facts and there's going to be some facts that are important, but it's how did your guests feel when they leave? And when you leave one of the trips that Francis has put together, you're going to have stories for a long time to tell. And the people you got to meet and the things that you learned that are not on the Google, you can't look up and learn. And like she mentioned, and we kind of talked about experiences that you can't go to TripAdvisor and book on your own. You have to be in with a group, and that she's putting this together, especially for people just to sign up on, if you and your husband want to go, if you want to take your sister, you don't have to know 30 to 50 people to do this or go with your church group. You can call Francis and call their office and sign up for one of these, even just with your bestie. So
that's right. And again, some of the things that I mentioned last week, if you watched, that we're changing, and I hope you can see that from this, is we're really trying to provide some unique experiences. We are every opportunity we have not to change hotels every night. We're not doing that. So on the Million Dollar Melodies, I have a hard time saying that. It's 2 nights in Nashville, 2 nights in Memphis, and 2 nights in Branson.
Mm-hmm.
On the Opry Birthday, 99 Reasons to Visit Nashville, it's 3 nights in Nashville. Mm-hmm. Family Ties and Country Vibes is 3 nights in Clarksville and 1 night in Nashville. So we're trying to do that. We are also, we love our friends at the Drury, and we'll be staying in the Drury on many of these tours, but we're doing dinner, an included dinner out. We're going to go to the Kickback in pregame. And have a drink and have something, a little snack. But then we're going to go somewhere and we're going to have a dinner experience every night, just to bring that up, that experience up to the next level for you. So all that said, thank you for being with me today, Stacy. I'm sure you guys will see her again. She will be my hey, can you come talk with me? Because it's so easy for us to talk. My call, if you have any questions, you can, of course, drop them in the comments. If you have more questions, call the office. They have information. And if they don't have the answer to the question, I do. Stay tuned, because we will have our new catalog coming out in April. We are planning a big travel show that we're going to introduce all of this fabulous product to you at one time. And we'll have our whole website redesign coming out. Just know that these trips that I'm talking about aren't available on the website just yet. So if you want more information, comment here in the comments or call the office. So
yeah, and be the first ones to get in on them before they do go live, because you joined the travel talks.
That's right.
You have advanced knowledge, and you have a little jump on the sign up.
Right. Now, just to a preview for next week, I will be traveling next week, and I'll be in Louisiana. So who knows what, actually we'll both be there at the same trip. Who knows when and where? Sometime next Tuesday, a video will come up. I'll let you know, and I hope you guys will join us again. But until next week, have a great time. We hope we see you and you travel with us soon.
Bye.
Thank you, Stacy.